Thank you all. My name is Erin Murphy Snedecor, but if you're here, you probably knew that. I want to introduce my band real quick. On drums over here, we have Troy Everett, who filled in last minute for this show, and I am eternally grateful. We've got Connor Holdridge over here on guitar, and we've got Zoe Jurgensen-Spears on bass. You may have seen her in October. You may have seen Connor in December. This next tune that I have is brand new, like so new that after we rehearsed it, I changed a bunch of things in it and then sent it back to the band. And it's in G flat, so the band wasn't very happy with me. They were very nice about it. It's kind of the cardinal rule of string players, don't give us G flat. I'm going to switch over to my other cello here, which is conveniently pre-tuned, so a half step lower than tuning. I figured if guitarists and fiddle players can do it, then I should give it a go. And it opens up a whole new world of sound that I fell in love with. But again, G flat major. Give me 1 second. Got some applause for G flat major. Do me a favor, while I'm switching cellos, find somebody in your row that you don't know and introduce yourself. Remember when we used to go to shows? We used to meet people in shows. It doesn't really happen anymore. This next tune is called Proof, and when it was a very shaky demo on my phone, it was called The First Day of Feeling Good. And when I put it together, it was the first time in a very, very long time that playing the cello had actually felt good. And I'd been starting to wonder, like, oh man, what am I doing here? Like, you do have to practice if you're going to be a full-time musician. Like, I hate to break it to you, you do actually have to do that, but it's really hard. So this is the first time anything had felt good in a really long time, and I took it as proof that maybe I am on the right path. Thank you. So we're gonna, Zoe and Connor are gonna take a little break here, and Troy is gonna join me up here on the drum pad, and I am going to retune my cello yet again. I know, I did it to myself. Yeah, someone's clapping for, yeah, you did this this tuning stuff to yourself, that's right. So another extra special thanks to Troy, because on Monday night, I got a call that no one wants to get 3 days before a show. Is that you? Ah, thank you, Ryan. I got a call no one wants to get. My drummer was like, sorry, I can't make this one. And I had a little panic attack. And then I was like, wait, I think Troy's in town from New York. And sure enough, Troy was in town from New York. Troy and I met at University of Maryland. Yeah, University of Maryland. Back in 2015, and we were in a string quartet together for a little while. Troy is an excellent violist, and I was like, am I remembering correctly that he plays killer drums? He was like, oh yeah, I play killer drums. That's fine. Talented, multi-talented. He's also on Spotify as Troy Everett if you want to check him out. This next one. This next tune is called TV Cities. It's named after a story that the artist Bjork tells about in a very old interview that's on YouTube. You can look it up. She's taken apart a television and is marveling at how all beautiful the inside's circuits are, and how something we see every day is so complex on the inside. And she says it's just like a little city. And it was just really inspiring to me that like approaching something that with that level of curiosity is something that I think we don't do enough of these days. So this is TV Cities. Ready? Loopers, yeah. Thank you. Now I get to switch to a standard tuning, which is going to blow my mind for the rest of this set. I'm going to play these next two songs by myself. And the first one isn't actually mine. It's by a fiddle player named Mark O'Connor. And Mark originally wrote this tune as a trio for himself, a bassist named Edgar Meyer, who, if you don't already know him, he's lesser known than he should be, but he rocks. And this cellist that you may have heard of, his name's Yo-Yo Ma. And it's a beautiful, beautiful album. It's one of the first albums that kind of piqued my interest into the classical and folk crossover, kind of in the tune, like in the tune you just heard. This tune felt really important to include on the set because it represents that intersection of new and old folk tunes and American folk music that I really like drawing from. It means a lot to me. So this is one of those tunes. It's called Appalachia Waltz. Thank you. Okay, this is real talk, where the set starts to get a little bit heavy. We're talking about American folk traditions and American music, and we can't talk about any of that right now without acknowledging what's going on in politics right now. Sorry. And maybe you've heard there's some changes happening at our Kennedy Center right now. This place has always been government funded and somewhat government controlled, so I'm not really surprised that this is the first place that's been targeted by the current administration. When I first got news of the changes to the board, I seriously considered canceling the show. I watched Issa Rae, Rhiannon Giddens, Lokat Khani, and Kalika Negron, and a few other musicians I really respect cancel their shows here, and I fully support that decision. These are acts that we're going to make money for the Kennedy Center, and taking away that revenue is a super effective way to protest and to dismantle fascism, and dismantle the cultural censorship that we're seeing in the Kennedy Center's programming. But Erin, you're here, you're playing. I know, I've actually had a few strangers emailing me through my website with various flavors of, how dare you, just many pearl clutching, like, oh my gosh, how dare you support this? And I don't blame them. And my stance is that I'm not going to leave this space that is ours, the people's, and I'm not going to comply with any cultural censorship in advance. I'm gonna wait for them to ask me to leave. This show isn't making the Kennedy Center any money. This has always been a community space. This is always somewhere that has paid artists in the community to be here, and you didn't pay anything for this show and that's the way it should be. This is our space, the taxpayers. So don't leave this space. I'm also playing what the Millennium stage has billed the social impact series, so I think it's only fitting that I socially impact a little bit here today. I'm not going to normalize any of this. What is going on is deeply disturbing, and we can't take a business as usual approach. I do want to say, however, there are a lot of different ways to dismantle fascism, and we're all doing what we can in terms of staying safe and in terms of what our impact can be. And everyone who can protest will protest in their own way, and that's how we create change. Anyway, this next song is based on a Reddit thread that my friend Becca had sent me a long time ago. I don't think I've told her about this. She'll probably laugh about this later. It said something to the effect of, wow, we're living through history right now, and what am I doing? Laundry, barely. And it made me think about all the history classes I've taken in growing up and talking about major events, but we don't really focus on the living before, during, and after, like the normal people just living their lives trying to get by. And I imagine a lot of families trying to get through the day and knowing deep in their bones that something's very wrong and not knowing what the next step is going to be. So this tune is also brand new, and so my name for it is pretty straightforward. It's called Laundry, Barely. Something's buzzing. Is it me, Ryan? Let's hear it for Ryan in the booth. Ryan and Poe have really been so helpful. Thank you, Ryan and Poe. The fires are burning and smoldering over. Ashes fall on the hills of the metaphors you couldn't find to describe living in time with a capital T, but you're doing the laundry barely. The water is rising, and I hope it'll wash me away before all of the bills are due on the 1st of the month. A drop in the ocean or a bucket to bail out the flood. I'll use whatever you hand me. Ooh, I wish we could remember what to do when hope seems far from true. I'll be out of my mind in this fight. Can't you see we're filling open notebook history, and the ending won't be fine? How are you fine? I've been out of my mind, watching you be fine. Out of my mind, watching you lie, watching you. 50 years later, I hope there's a later. Will be words, textbook pages, and I will remember. Maybe all I'll remember is doing the laundry barely. Ooh, no one expects to live amidst the fall, and we're just getting by. We're out of our minds, trying to get by. Out of our minds, trying to remain here for the end of this fight. Thank you. I'd like to invite the rest of the band back up. Ooh, that's probably me. The next song we're gonna play is Glass Gardens. I wrote this tune last year, and the lyrics to this song are obviously deeply personal to me, but I really enjoyed hearing what other people hear in them. And I think it's a high compliment when something that you wrote has a meaning that you didn't intend, as long as it's a good one. And I think this one is, so fingers crossed. I want to give a quick shout out while everyone's getting set up. I wrote this tune in preparation for one of my shows at Strathmore Music Center, when I was a Strathmore artist in residence. Strathmore is doing really fantastic things for young artists in our community, and if you have not heard of them, you haven't heard of this year's artist in residence class, you could check it out. I've heard there's a Betty Scott somewhere in the audience that you can talk to about that. Oh yeah, there she is. All right, here's Glass Gardens. I see you in mirrors every day. Wish I could do better, but I know I'll make the same mistakes. Someday we'll agree to both look away and bury this all in the garden. The forgiveness will grow between sharp edges, oh, and we won't recognize ourselves. day to day. Some fight with our nature, but we know our nurture remains. Someday we will see with fresh eyes and be allowed. Our reflection is worthy of forgiveness will grow between worn edges, oh, and we won't recognize ourselves. Thank you. We've got a couple more tunes for you tonight. This next one is called Synthetic Clay D, which is super nerdy. I said before that or maybe I didn't say before, I have notes. Sometimes I don't follow them. I have a solo album out. It's called Zozanthely or Zozanthely, depending on what country you're in. And I named it after the photosynthetic algae that live in coral. Zooxanthellae live in coral and photosynthesize for it, and that symbiotic relationship is how coral gets its vivid color. And a quick detour back to Bummertown. Climate change means that the pH of oceans is dropping and the water temperature is rising, as well as a bunch of salinity and mineral issues that I do not have the degree to understand, but it's not what ocean-dwelling creatures like. That's all we need to know. And they can't withstand it. And when this happens, as these conditions become unsuitable, the zooxanthellae can no longer survive in the coral, and they leave or they die. And when that happens, it's called coral bleaching. That's what we're seeing right now. Marine biologists in Australia ran a project that created artificial zooxanthellae that might be able to withstand the changing climate. And in their study, they found that this synthetic clay D was best suited, had the best traits to maybe withstand climate change in the Great Barrier Reef in Australia. And I checked in on this research this week because it was a long time ago. And it looks like there are prototypes of successful synthetic zooxanthellae in the wild, in the works right now. And we just have to produce enough of them. And that's proving to be the problem. In any case, I wrote a tune inspired by this tiny little organism that makes so much change in the world. And it's something that we broke, and we can fix it. There's no connection to anything that's happening right now. Okay, thank you. All Thank you, guys. We've got one more tune for you tonight, and it's just gonna be me and Troy up here. So Connor Holdridge on the guitar, wow. Zoe Jurgensen-Spears on bass. When you're making music with people, it is so important to have a good vibe in the room, and Connor and Zoe are such a good vibe in the room. It's much appreciated. And they sound great. What more can you ask for? Troy and I are going to play one more tune for you. Thank you all again for joining us tonight. I'm so pleased that we get the opportunity to be here, and thank you for supporting this community space. Round of applause for you all for being here. We're going to end the night with a little more American music. It's a Woody Guthrie tune. And if you aren't familiar with Woody Guthrie, he's most known for This Land Is Your Land. And in his era, in the 1920s to 1960s, his music was some of the most hard rock protest music around. Songs about fighting for your freedom and for your community are all over the place in American folk music. And it's kind of how we started out, right? This tune was written in 1944. Guthrie isn't super known for his lyrical subtlety, which I think will come across pretty quick. Thank you all again, and I think you'll figure out what this song is called by the end of it. You're bound to lose. Raise hatred cannot stop us. This one thing we know. Ugliness, impunity, and greed has got to go. You're bound to lose. You fascists bound to lose. All you fascists bound to lose. Fascists bound to lose. Yes, sir, all you fascists bound to lose, you bound to lose, you bound to lose. People of every color, marching side by side, marching across these fields where a million fascists cry, you bound to lose. You bound to lose. I'm going into battle. I'll take my Union gun. We'll end this world of slavery before this battle's won. You bound to lose. You bound to lose. All you fascists bound to lose. Said all you fascists bound to lose. Said all you fascists bound to lose, you bound to lose. You bound to lose. One more, sing with me. Said all you fascists bound to lose. Said all you fascists bound to lose. Said all you fascists bound to lose, you bound to lose, you bound to lose. Thank you all. Have a good night.
Thank you for joining us at Millennium Stage. For more information about upcoming shows, please check out the Kennedy Center website or Facebook page. At this time, we ask that you please head to the back of the seating area so we can safely put away our chairs.